Something crazy has just happened, and it could be the death of Lost-Ark, or what we need to save it. It's almost as if Thanos himself came and snapped his fingers, and just like that, more than half the player base was gone in the blink of an eye. What's up, my Mokokos, Raid Pros, and Bonk Bros, Defender here, and welcome back to another video. Now today I want to talk about something that's just kind of happened overnight, if you will, and it's a big change to how Lost-Ark is going to play, at least for now. We'll see how long it lasts. But I'm talking about the ban wave. So there's been a huge ban wave, it looks like, across all of NAEU, and it has affected the population massively. Now if I bring up some numbers for you, looking at the Steam charts, we can see over the last kind of couple of days, the population of the player base has changed massively. Okay, so there's been obviously some server downtime here, so let's go off of 48 hours, and we can see on the 9th, the Monday, we had a steady population of over 300,000, which people knew was bots, right? We all knew bots were taking up a huge chunk of this. It's only natural that it was going to be. And almost overnight, if you see here at midnight on Tuesday, it's starting to drop. And come 6, 7 a.m. the next day into Tuesday, 80,000, 79,000, 77,000, 80,000. And we've kind of hit a steady number now as people start to wake up in EU, NA, of about 100,000, give or take, of server maintenance there. So about 100,000 at peak in the last couple of days. And that's more indicative of real player base, and that is huge. So whatever's happened has affected the bots massively. And I can already see this in-game through quite a few different means. So for example, this is my favorite daily that I do, one of my 3 that I've talked about in a different video before, where you kill this guy and 14 of the thieves, and it gives you honor shards for an Una's daily. And it's one of the 3 Una's dailies that I recommend everyone does. But this spot was always covered in bots, and that's because it's part of the questing, I believe, or maybe they were doing the Unas themselves as well, because it's a quick Unas and they could get the Unas gold from doing enough for the week. I'm not sure, but it was always completely covered in bots, and it was hard to fight for these kills. You had to really preemptively do some stuff to kill these guys. Now this is completely changed across all my dailies that I do, that I would go into. Like, for example, I've got another one in the Unas I do in the Shadow Island, in the tower, and it was covered, absolutely covered in bots, every single floor, including the top floor with the boss. And you'd have to fight for that boss if it spawned against the bots, but they would be spawn killing it on demand with all the chain of bots that were doing the questing. That's changed. All of it's changed. Now, if we go back to Vern Castle, for example, the infamous spots that you would have seen them do, going back and forth with the Chaos Dungeons, going to the honing vendor to get their honing up, all this stuff, they're not there. Not a bot to be seen in sight. Maybe a handful of people botting on smaller scales might still be around. You might see the occasional bot here and there, but for some reason, and they haven't addressed it yet, they're keeping their cards close to their chest on this one. Bots are gone, okay? And it is huge. It is huge. Okay, so this spot here would have had about 100, 200 or so bots on horses, all sorks, all kind of standing there together, and they're gone. And it's probably the same across all the different regions that they're parking themselves. They're not there anymore. And it's actually a nice community space now. You can see, you don't have a huge line of horses. You don't have 100 of the same looking sork just standing there. You have all these different people with their different looks, all playing the actual game, right? They're not bots. They all have actual names, guilds, titles. It's such a refreshing feeling. And don't get me wrong, yes, of course I love the game and I like the positives, but of course there are some negatives that are going to come along with this, and I'm going to talk about those today as well. And I think, first of all, if this is a bot ban wave, then that's fantastic, right? But there are some things that are going to have a knock-on effect as a result of this, okay? So first of all, if there is a bot ban wave, RMT, the prices for that are probably going to go up, so people are less likely to RMT, or they can't get hold of the RMT, at least for the foreseeable future, until bots figure out another way to surpass this ban. Okay, and the other thing that's going to happen is, as a result of the bots doing things less, and there being less things on the market, the number one thing bots were doing was gem farming and making a lot of money from gems. And I think these prices are going to start to really climb across the board. Okay, so I've been keeping my eye on gems probably for the last month now because I wanted to get some level 10s, and we did some gambling in a video for you guys from Twitter. I'll put a link in the description for that video because it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. But we bought 3 level 9s and honed them into a level 10, and I've been keeping an eye on these, and these prices have almost doubled in the last month. I think at one point they were around 9k, 8k, and they're up to 16 now, by the looks of it, if not higher, and selling. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to probably hit about 20,000 on the 7, and obviously if one goes up, they all go up, right? It's just simple maths. For example, a level 10 is always going to be at least the price of 3 level 9s of damage, for example. Obviously the damage one is the biggest one, so it's always going to mirror the lower ones, and that's going to be a big effect. I think a few other things that are going to be affected as well, maybe in a good way, is accessories are going to drop in price because people just aren't going to be buying them, and also they're going to be holding onto their gold more. Gold's going to become more valuable, and that might be good. Might mean that blue crystal prices change, maybe for the better. I don't know yet. I'm not really going to try and predict it. All I know is that gems, of course, are going to be affected by this, because why wouldn't they be? Bots are such a huge component of that. But at least we can use the auction house again, so that is a huge benefit. Now, another thing I want to talk about, because I don't want to just highlight all the positives, is there are still some negatives, and I've been going through the Lost Ark forums to kind of get an understanding of what's happened with this huge ban wave that's happened kind of overnight, and there are some negatives still on the forums that I want to address. And first of all, the big thing that obviously is still on the table for everybody is the DCs. DCs have been happening now for 2+ months. In my opinion, it is unacceptable. A lot of Korean players that stream, speak English, talk with the community on our side have said this wouldn't go on the Korean side. It just wouldn't be accepted. It wouldn't be allowed, if you will, by the player base. The player base would just stop playing the game if this was happening. It's happening in crucial parts of your Legion raids, right? And that is probably the biggest community in Lost Ark are the raiding community, right? Because people don't really enjoy the horizontal content, and I understand that. I'm more of a vertical content person myself, and I cannot imagine being in Broshaza, for example, progressing it and DCing, when you kill it, for example, coming back and not being eligible for the loot, or just trying to prog and people constantly DCing. We had a little bit of that in ourselves in my EU group, but it didn't affect us too much. One time we decided to just stop progging for one evening because it was so bad, but for the most part it hasn't really been too bad. But it is happening a lot for everybody, and it's still unacceptable. It is not something that should be going on for 10+ weeks, supposedly by this post anyway. And we have some updates from the last 24 hours seeing that there's nothing to share. It's still something that's on the table. They haven't put any updates on this last week. You have to kind of go out of your way to find an update, and that is a huge issue. It shouldn't be acceptable for this to go on for this long, especially from such a big company such as Amazon. Now, I obviously don't know how much of a resource they push into Lost Ark from the game studio, but at the bare minimum, we should at least know what is going on with this. I understand with the bots, they don't want to tell anybody because obviously bots are run by humans, and humans would read this stuff, figure out how it's affecting them, and adapt. That's fine. The DC issues, it's on their side of the issue. They need to let us know what's happening with this. It's nothing that we can adapt to and change and manipulate to our advantage. This is an issue that's affecting the player base. It is killing the population, and it needs to change. And I cannot understand why it's not become such a more prolific discussion, really. I think big content streamers need to address it. I think some of the ones that have interviews with community managers need to address it. And I'm not saying they don't, but it needs to be really pushed to the front of everything, right? Bots is known, and it always has been. And they say they're working on things. It's always going to be a problem. Botting is always going to be a problem until a more authenticated process happens with playing the game. And they're just going to have to try and stay one step ahead of the bots at all times, and they haven't done. But DCs is affecting us on a micro scale, right? Your enjoyment of the game. Okay, you can get past the botting by going out of your way to do things that don't involve bots and just putting up with the effect that it has on the economy and your experience and the auction house, etc. But DCing in raids is just not acceptable, and I think a AAA game developing and publishing itself would not allow this. Okay, so that is one thing I want to talk about. Obviously, it's criticism. I'm not complaining. I'm criticizing this because I love this game. I really have a passion for this game, and I want to keep playing this game. I want to see this game successful, and I want to see it in the future, and I want to see it make it a long time in the MMO industry. And so I want them to get a hold of this and really sort it out. Okay, and then the next thing I want to talk about is some good news and some bad news again. The good news is they are looking at merging servers. So this is something I've talked about a few times now on my videos, and that some servers just really are struggling, and that's because population, market, for example, they talk about the differences between the NA East and NA West and Europe West and Europe Central. Some of these have it really good right now and some of them don't, and it's understandable. I think from the get-go, they should have just had one large one with a lot of servers. These regions really need to be sorted out, to be honest. And I hope this reply from Rox saying that they're working on it. It's not ready yet, but it is coming. It is something that we're actually going to see in the immediate future, not just something they're going to keep telling us is on the way, because it will help population to see a better economy, a better interaction between player base, and for people not to have such a bad experience where they can't, afford blue crystals, they can't get anything on the market because it's too expensive. People are RMTing because it's the only way they can make things work. It just needs to be addressed. But hopefully this means soon in the future. And lastly, API. API is a big one that I would love to see. I mentioned this before in my video about Trixion. I think because we don't have access to the API, we can't look at the same things Koreans do. Koreans have Loa, the website where you can go through the entire player base of Korea through their API, look at their gear, look at how they build their builds, look at their horizontal stuff, their achievements, their notoriety, all the things they've done. It's still not going anywhere with us. And I don't know what the issue is with this. I really don't. I don't know why we can't get a reason as to why it's taking so long. Is it because they didn't want us to see just how many players were botting? Is that a big thing? So I'm praying that at some point in the future, the API will be available to us. It's what everyone wants. I don't see any downside to the community to us having it. I think it would just help build that actual community that we have, because let's be honest, Reddit and the official forums are just not a community. They are a place to shitpost, they're a place to complain, they're a place to witch hunt. They're not a space that people can have fun in and enjoy and build a community around. Those are discords, and those are kind of private, isolated spaces that you have to find. But the big thing I wanted to talk about today was the bots. Huge success. I really cannot wait to see if it maintains itself, or if bots find a new way to start creeping back into the game and succeed and surpass the issues that Amazon have put in place, if they have put something in place. Who knows? Maybe the bots are doing a huge update on the back end, and tomorrow Thanos snap reverse, they're back. But maybe that's me playing devil's advocate. Maybe I've just been burned too many times, I've been scorned, and that I'm just kind of molding a little bit with the game. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, that's everything from me today, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you think is the reason the bots have stopped playing. Are you already noticing the changes? Here's hoping that it has been, and that we see a better increase in the game's quality as a result. But the DC stuff needs to happen. So Amazon, if you're watching this video or any other videos that have been made by some of the content creators, please at least be vocal about the DC issue. Not just that you're aware of it, what you're aware of and what you're going to do about it, because people are not that patient anymore, okay? We've been patient for a long time. 10 weeks is too much, okay? But that is everything. Thank you so much, guys. The support has been incredible. We are growing and growing and growing. I am working on a Discord for everybody. I am working on getting into streaming. I'm working on a lot of new video ideas and content creation ideas, some collabs, working on a lot of different things for everybody. I've got a lot on my plate right now, but I'm so excited to bring all of it to you guys, and your support is making it happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your incredible support. I really appreciate you all. You are beautiful people, and I hope wherever you are, you're having an incredible day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.